It's Tuesday, it's 12:15 and we're live in Westminster. Joining us today, former Conservative Minister Steve Brine, Shadow Paymaster General Jonathan Ashworth, businessman and entrepreneur Dave Fishwick and Reem Ibrahim from the free market think tank, the Institute of Economic Affairs. This is Politics Live Election 2024.
Education's needed, I feel, to make better life decisions, not just about health and drinks and energy drinks and things, although they are very addictive and these things do need to be kept a very, very close eye on. But we also need better education around the finance, banking and around APRs, annual percentage rate. We need to teach young people and get them ready for life skills. That dentist that's been talked about just recently, they're really struggling with it.
But Dave, are you in favour of a ban on this or not? Just to be
clear.
Well,
do you know what I think? I think first and foremost we need to give people the education to then make their own decision. We can't become a nanny state. We can't tell people you can have this and you can't drink that. What we can do is educate them properly to understand the benefits and the non-benefits, and then they can make a decision based on common sense.
Bedtime reading for our guests. I'll be looking through it this afternoon. But Dave, first of all, do you think this is a vote on the past or the future?
Well, I think the main thing is we need to have a look at people's lives. People are writing to me, one in particular at Burnley Savings and Loans, and said, Dave, I'd like to borrow some money to buy baby milk. So when you've got somebody applying for a loan to buy baby milk, right, we ended up giving them the money free. When you've got that on one side, and then on the other side you've got bankers' bonuses being uncapped, you're then in a situation where we really do need change. Now, I think I've come up with a slight solution.
Have you got your own manifesto?
So, well, it's written in felt tip.
It's a rebel manifesto.
And it's, you know, you can write it on the back of an envelope, whatever you can write it on the back of an envelope. What we need is, we need better services. We need people to be able to benefit better from society. And those at the top need to take the biggest burden. Those with the highest shoulders, the longest shoulders, need to take the biggest burden. But Sir Paul Tucker from the Bank of England Monetary Policy Committee said £45 billion can be saved by cutting interest paid to banks. Now, they got in trouble with the quantitative easing. Goldman Sachs come out with that report this morning. You take that 45 billion, you put it into the NHS. But before you put it into the NHS, really importantly, we need to stop the water going through the bucket. So we need to plug the holes, find out where the money's going.
I think there is a fundamental...
hang on. And let's just remind viewers, because you opened a bank. It was the first time a bank had been opened in how many years?
We're opening the first new high street bank for 150 years in Britain. We've lent 34 million to thousands of people and businesses all
locally,
across the UK.
And they're local.
And I've just become the ambassador for the United States for community banks all across the United States of America.
Right, you're going to... Should there be higher rates of capital gains tax? Should they be increased on businesses, second homes and shares? They are taxed at less than income tax rates, and it would raise money.
What I'd like to see is levies on the big energy companies that make billions. I'd like to see levies on the banks. I'd like to see more of that, so that money can then drift back down into real society, and the poorest, and not just the poorest, Middle England are really suffering because they've been dragged with fiscal drag right up through the tax. So how do we get money from those at the top who have made billions and give it to those near the middle, not necessarily the poorest?
Well, you're making the point that we need to be taking money from the top and bringing it down to the bottom.
And what's wrong with that?
But that's not how it works.
Well, it can work.
It could work that way, but ultimately what would happen is those at the top would stop making money here. What we want is to lift everyone up. We want to lift everyone up.
I'm a higher rate taxpayer and I pay it at the top. Now, I don't mind paying my share. When I go to the dentist, I pay privately, so I don't take somebody else's place. I've just put my wife in the hospital for something, a minor operation to be done. It cost £9,000, and I paid it, so I didn't take somebody's NHS place. I think those at the top should pay more.
They already
anybody else have their turn.
Already paying more than enough, and I think what's really interesting about this is that if we want to encourage the UK to be a more competitive country, we need to be encouraging people like yourselves to be bringing business here. We currently have a corporation tax rate of 25% again,
which both parties
brought up by the Tories, by the Conservative Party, and we border a country, Ireland, that has a corporation tax rate of 12.5%.
I have 6
we
companies,
literally border a
and the
country
main
that
one
has
of
a corporation tax rate that is half ours.
Yes, but
I have
we
6
do
businesses, one of which Fishwick that's in America, which is the biggest I've got. I pay American tax there and I pay the tax here on the dividends.
Right, and the other, if you're looking at comparisons, Reem, there are European countries comparable to ours where there are higher levels of income tax as well, and where growth has been higher at points over the last 14 years.
If somebody's put the tax up by 10% to me in America, 20% more, 30% more, I'm not going to pull my money from America. I can't see how anybody would pull the money from Britain. It's part of being the most wonderful country we've got, and people paying their...
pull invest.
Dave?
So, what we need, I feel, is it's no good just as pouring money into everything. If we carry on doing everything as we've done for the last year, the last 2 years, whatever, if we just do that next year by saying we're going to give more to the NHS, we're going to give more to this, more to that, we're just going to end up in the situation where if we think it's going to be different next year by doing the same thing, it's the definition of madness. What we need to do is plug all the holes in all the buckets first, look at where the spending was wrong, look at maybe even procuring things in the NHS. When I went into Blackburn Hospital...
Would you
procuring
support
things
private...
Hang on, let me finish, and then you can ask your question.
So, I went into the hospital and I met some really, really hard-working people. Them nurses and doctors and surgeons deserve triple.
Oh,
we can't afford to give them. We can't afford to give them that. But what I would do is look at the procurement, because some of the machines and things they were buying were tens and tens of millions of pounds. And with them being NHS, people see the word NHS and they think, right, we can charge more money. We need to get to the bottom of that. We need to bring them costs down, and then we've got some spare money to be able to...
Interesting. How you improve procurement across the public sector, I think is really, really interesting.
Let's have a word after the show.
All right, well, you have a word after the show. Sorry,
because I've spent my life doing deals, and when somebody says a machine, a truck, a bus is 50 grand, I'll start at 25 and work my way up.
Governments of all stripes, but governments of all stripes are notoriously bad when it comes to
so let's fix
systems. Dave, very quickly, what did you make, particularly on the housing?
I think it's important for people to get on the housing ladder. Another letters we get a lot of is people struggling to get the deposit. Now, Burnley's just been announced as the most affordable place in the country to buy a home, for round about £100,000. Now, they were talking there of £400,000 houses, you know, that by 4 in Burnley. So I'm thinking perhaps we can get a better transport system up to places like Burnley. People can buy homes there and then work across the country.
Well, HS2 didn't quite work. But anyway, that's all we have for today. I'll be back tomorrow with more Politics Live at 12:15. Please join me. Bye.